y'all, it's Kate from the Literary Apothecary and welcome back to my channel. Hey y'all, today I'm going to be continuing my series of videos where I'm talking about some of my favorite indie authors that I met and read this year. Today's video is talking about authors that I've read just one book of, but I am very much looking forward to reading more of their books in the future, hopefully 2024 too. So these are in no particular order, but let's get started. There's about 6 of them. So first up we have Krystle Matar. Krystle wrote Legacy of the Brightwash, and this is book 1 in the Tainted Dominion series, and I loved this book so much. This was an easy 5-star rating for me. It's one of my favorite books that I read this year, and this book just became so special to me. It has great parent units. It has really deep emotions. It made me dig deep into emotions that I didn't know I had lying dormant. It had great friendships. It had great kids. Like I said, great parents. It was just so good all around. It had a really great balance of character and plot, which you know I love. And so I just loved everything about Legacy of the Brightwash. The writing was beautiful. I can't say enough good things about this book. And I can't wait to read book 2 in 2024. I'm hoping to get this in early 2024, like January, February, March, maybe somewhere in there. I'm really hoping to get this in early because I need to know where the story goes, and I just have to get back to these characters. Next up we have Cal Black. I read Shattered Spirits by Cal. This was a novella I read in the first round of the Sphinx Championship series, and this was the novella that I selected to move on to the semifinal round. This was the first novella I read in this competition, and it was the only one that got 5 stars for me, so it was an easy decision for me. I loved everything about this book. This was a spooky horror fantasy novella that was just so good, so well written. On my 2024 TBR somewhere, hopefully again sooner rather than later, I have her fantasy series, at least book 1 in that series, No Land for Heroes. Although I've heard the whole series is great, I have book 1 waiting on my TBR for when I can slide that in. I am so excited to read more Cal Black because I absolutely love her balancing of the characters and the story and the plot and just the writing. Everything just seems so well balanced. I can't wait for a full-length book from Cal. Fantasy, I just want more Cal Black in my reading diet. Next up is a book that I read earlier this year. It's by our next author is Joseph John Lee. Joe Lee is the author of The Bleeding Stone, and he's got 2, I think, 1 book, 1 novella, and maybe a book 2. I forget when book 2's release was, but I've read book 1, The Bleeding Stone, and I could not stop thinking about that book after I read it. That book was a historical fiction fantasy, kind of a retelling of some American history from essentially the indigenous people's point of view, the Native Americans' point of view, and it was just so well done. Joe Lee's characters just reached straight in and ripped my heart out. I am looking forward to reading the other books in his series and more books to come in this series because, y'all, this book was just so well done. If you want a historical fantasy that will just give you every single emotion there is, go and get The Bleeding Stone. Next up I have Delaney Andrews. This is a book that was completely different than a lot of the other books that I read. Silhouette in the Shadow is a sci-fi fantasy superhero book, and it was so much fun. I absolutely loved everything about this book. We have a young girl who her mother dies, and so she becomes an orphan, and her uncle from out of town comes in and says, like, he's a rich guy. He says, you know, come stay with me for a little bit, get your bearings again, and we'll figure things out from there. Turns out he is a secret superhero and she is a secret superhero. And everything about this is like Batman and Robin, but with Batman being the uncle and Robin being a young teenage girl. And I loved everything about this book, and Delaney is such a joy to talk to. I can't wait to read more in this series and see what other hijinks they get up to. Next up, I have Jordan Darrett. Jordan wrote The 12 Blades in Contempt, and this is supposed to be a series. I haven't heard too much about book 2. I know Jordan has been spending time reworking 12 Blades in Contempt. He did some rewrites, he did some new edits, so it's a little bit, he claims it's a little bit more focused than the original version. I'm hoping that now that that is done, he's getting back to book 2, because I need to see where the story goes and I want more in this world. And then my last author on this list is Torre Tecken. Torre, everyone knows in the booktube world as Talks with Torre. Torre is a fantastic booktuber, fantastic writer, a great friend. I read Phased by Torre earlier this year. This was a supernatural fantasy science fiction book, a YA book about a young girl who is a werewolf, and she goes to school. Her and her sister are werewolves, and she becomes friends with a human and werewolves, and I loved this story so much. I need more in this world. But Torre also just released a fantasy novel, I believe it's called The Bloodstones, which I'm really excited to get to. I'm really hoping, again, that makes it on my early 2024 list. We'll see where 2024 goes, but based on just this list alone, I have a lot of great reads I'm looking forward to. So if you've read any of these authors, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of them? Did you love them as much as I did? What were your favorite books by them that you've read? As always, my Patreon and my Discord information will be in the description below. Keep reading, and I love y'all to the moon and back. Bye.